Hello and welcome to Heart of the Matter. And it's absolutely an honor to have Ahmed join me. And I just wanted to just say before we start this podcast tonight for the viewers, is I want to thank you, Ahmed, for helping me with the channel. And you was there for me right from the start. And yeah, the support you've given me and the contribution and the words of wisdom and your inner standing. So I just want to thank you for that, brother. And it's great to have you here as always. Thank you.
An honor, brother, and you're most welcome. You are a beautiful soul and most deserving. And thank you for your acknowledgement as well. So much appreciated, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
and a
you.
joy as always to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to many future podcasts with you because they're always great. Whatever we tend to sort of share and bring here on the channel, is yeah,
For sure.
great insights. So thank you. Yeah, so tonight's podcast is going to be about words and the magic within words as well. So that's for tonight's podcast. So yeah, I'll let you share, Ahmed.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm sure many of the viewers here are already familiar with some of the words we use on a day-to-day basis, and the thing is sometimes we don't really know the spells we're casting on our consciousness and our lives with the words we use from day to day. So like we talked about just before we started this video was things like the basics, like when you say good morning, you're having a good morning, a good grieving. It's quite fun. I mean, I laugh at it now because you've got to have a bit of a sense of humor about all this, and you're kind of like, how is it a good thing to grieve um every day? When we say these words, I'm talking every day. It's good to grieve when you're going through something, for sure. You got to let the emotions pass, and you got to accept it, and you got to feel everything through your body. But to say it every day of our lives, that is really not a healthy attitude to use language. And this is the part of the Babel that we've been here in the West, we've been put under, especially with the English language, because it's the most widely spoken language in the world. So, so yeah, to say good morning and to wake up, to have a wake is what you have in a funeral. So you have a wake in a funeral. So yeah, just looking at these words and their origins, or at least for you to start thinking about, when you're listening to certain words, what do they even sound like? You know,
Mm,
morning and morning sounds exactly the same thing to me. So it's one of those things. Wake and wake, they both sound the same. And yes, they may have different meanings. And this is one thing about the English language. We have two words that mean different things used in the context of a sentence that we use, or what we're speaking in, in the context that we're speaking in. So um these things are important to notice. But some other words to kind of look into is, for example, because one word we use a lot is love.
mm,
And I love to kind of like delve into certain words like love, because these are good words, so we look at them as good words.
mm,
So let's have a look, shall we?
mm, mm.
So if you ever want to look up the meaning behind the words, or the root behind the words, I recommend a website called Etym Online, ETYM online.com. It's
Okay.
an etymological dictionary, and or etymology, as Santos Bonacci likes to call it.
Mm,
So
mm.
so yeah, so love as a noun. So the word love is from Old English "lufu," meaning feeling of love, romantic sexual attraction, affection, friendliness, the love of God. Love as an abstraction or personification. And then if we to go further back, the origins, then that relates to the Proto-Germanic word lubo, which is the source also of Old High German, Liebe, which means joy, or German Liebe, which means love. It also stems from Old Norse or Old Frisian, and Dutch for lof. So you can see how it's all related to the word love, lof, lob, liebe, lufu. It all sounds very similar. German lob, which means praise, or Old Saxon. But if we were to go into the verb as well, because you have noun and you have the verb in English grammar. So that also comes from the Old English Luthean, to feel love, for cherish, show love, to delight and approve. It's a verb from the root of love, which is a noun, which is a weakened sense of like, which is interesting. A weakened sense of like, attested by the 12th century. It was attested during that time. So yeah, this is like some things to kind of know, so that what you're saying, words. So that seems fine. Love, it seems like a perfectly good word to use to express that feeling, if we look into the origins. So yeah, you've got all these different ones. But if you go to the Proto-Indo-European root meaning of love, you get Liebe, which is spelled Leubh. And it forms all a part of belief, believe, furlough, and leave. So permission, liberty granted to something. It also refers to libido, live long, and lovely. It is the hypothetical source of evidence for its existence is provided by Sanskrit, which means desires, or to make crazy. It comes from Persian, which is to be tangled, be hit down, be in love. Latin lubet, which is, and later it was known as libet, which is to please or pleases. So yeah, there you have it. Like some of the origins of these words, like love. But yeah, in other words, so if we look to certain words like mortgage, for example, so you have the word mortgage. Now some people have mortgages, but if we are to see, it is the Latin. It comes from mer. More, so more, it comes from the Latin word mer, or mori, or mortis, which is a participle of to die. And mer is to rub away or harm, and also to die. So the word more, or mer, is to harm or to die. That is the origin of that meaning, of that word mortgage. So the T was then restored in modern English and is based on the Latin. So that's where they get the T from. It was just like modern English let's put a T on there. But it's a silent T, isn't it? We don't really pronounce the letter T. So yeah, so looking at these words that we have, like mortgage, it's all related to death and
yeah.
So,
because I think I heard somewhere. I mean, I could be wrong, but I heard somewhere that in German, I think it means death grip. I think
death grip. Okay.
Death grip.
Death grip. Okay.
Death grip. Yeah. I mean, I might be wrong, but I heard something along the lines. That's what it means in German, apparently. So,
interesting.
So, yeah.
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 So you have other words like public. So this is words the government use, for example, to the people. So it's from a late 14th century word called public, or public,
Mhm.
open to general observation from Old French public as well, and directly from Latin, which is basically most of European countries' languages come from Latin, which is because of the reign of the Roman Empire. They had a huge, they reigned over Europe for a long time, and so Latin was the language of the time, just like English is today. And so that comes from publicus, which means of the people of the state, done for the state. But if we delve further, it also means common. It means general, of or belonging to the ordinary and vulgar. So yeah, that word, I mean, again, it's got various meanings, but the fact that they use the word and behind it is the ordinary and vulgar. They see us as something vulgar, which is quite interesting, but not very surprising either. And this Latin word was then altered, probably by influence of Latin pubis, which means adult population. That's why you have the word pubes. You get pubes because you're an adult. So this is how the word actually relates. So you see the word pubis, but that means adult. It means adult. So that's why you have these words. So it's from Old Latin poplicus, which is pertaining to people. So yeah, it's more kind of like that's the word that's used there. And when we look into the Old English adjective in this sense was folklic, which is done or made by or on behalf of the community as a whole. Which is interesting as well. But yeah, these words they spell, and so when you're addressing a general people, to have the word vulgar attached to the meaning of the word public is quite interesting as well. And yeah, just when you look at words, go look them up and see their meanings, and that brings it back to the word, that links to the word now people. We use people a lot. We use them in songs, we use it in our everyday life. And so again, it comes from the Latin word populus. We also use that word today, which means crowd, a crowd, a throng, or a multitude. It's actually a word of unknown origin, if we were to trace it back according to the etymological dictionary, but it's based on Italic derivatives such as populari, to lay waste, to ravage, to plunder, to pillage. Populonia, a surname of Juno, she who protects against devastation. So it has like these twin double meanings, this word people. So it has, this is why people get people, or we get tricked sometimes in law and when we attend courts, because there's different definitions to what people mean, or for you as a respondent, for example, or a claimant. So yeah, it's important to look into these words again. And what other words can we think of that we use that I found? Job was another one, because we use that word a lot. Get a job. So as a noun, it comes from again, it's a word of uncertain origin. Why are these words are used commonly of uncertain origins? So gob perhaps is a variant of gobe, which is 14th century, which means mass or lump or a cartload. So that also gives it a sort of heaviness to the word job, like it's something weighty. It's not
Yeah.
easy to carry in your life. So yeah, think about it when you use that word job, as opposed to vocation. When we say vocation, there's a lot of beauty in that word, where job is it's got these.
Yeah, it feels the opposite, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look to the Old Testament from Hebrew, Eob, which sounds very similar to job,
Yeah.
which according to some scholars literally means hated and persecuted.
Wow.
So, which comes from Ayab, he who was hostile to, or enmity. Some others say that it means the penitent one. It's figurative of bad news, destitution, and patient endurance. So yeah, there you have it. There's the word job. Pretty
Wow.
negative, right? Like,
Yeah,
pretty
for sure, for sure. And it's really funny that that we decided to do this one tonight as well, because I don't know if you know, but I don't think I shared this with you previous to coming on here and then just doing this podcast tonight. But I ordered a book from Amazon actually, but the book I'm just gonna have to go and find it a minute because it's quite interesting. And it's funny because it's in my orders. I'll just have to look here a minute. Let's go here quickly because I can't remember it off the top of my head. Oh, there we go. Here it is. Okay, so the book is Word Majick: The Powers of the Occult Definitions of Words. So that's really, really funny how yeah. I ordered that book to today, and it's coming tomorrow, and we're talking about words today.
sounds
So.
like an interesting book. I'd love to read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'll put it down in the description because I'm going to look forward to getting into that book as well. I'm reading that, but yeah, it's just
Amazing.
funny how that you brought that up tonight. Let's talk about words, and I ordered that book
Yeah.
today. So,
So yeah, going from job, we'll go to the word. Thank you for sharing that, by the way, Kelvin. So yeah, going from that, we're going to use one that we use quite often, which is God.
Yeah. Okay.
So, do you know much about the source of the words God?
Well, I mean, if you turn it round the other way,
it's dog.
It's dog, isn't it? The other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
But apart from really
For
that,
sure.
I'm not really too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's about the only other thing I really know about the word. Yeah.
Yeah, so it comes from because we know its definition in Old English, but if we're to trace it back, it goes back to Proto-Germanic, which is gutan or gut or got, which also is a source of Old Saxon or Old Frisian, and an Old Norse, which is gut as well, which is said again uncertain origin, but it doesn't take much to actually cross the bridge for it to sound like got or goat. And as you see, we always see the Baphomet being used, in what is it, Satanism or whatever, they use the Baphomet as a symbol for Satan, or as the prince of the world, so to speak. But yeah, just going back to that also means as well, which is from the pi gut, that which is invoked, which is from the old Church Slavonic zovo, to call. But I don't know how that got tied in from the other words like zovo, because that sounds like nothing like God. So you got to take these things with a pinch of salt sometimes when you look up on the etymological dictionary. Do see the similarities, but If it doesn't sound like the word, it's probably not the word
Okay.
that it comes from.
I mean, the word you're well, the word you're using for God at the moment, you've just been speaking out. I mean, was it good or something you said? Was it good?
Good, yeah,
Good. That to me sounds. I mean, I might be wrong. Is it German? It sounds
yeah,
sort of German.
Proto-Germanic,
Yeah.
and Old Norse as well.
Okay.
Yep. So just going there, it's again. So it's poured. It means to pour as well. It's from pi, from the pi word guto, poured from, which is root for gu, to pour, or to pour libation. So there's a pouring when you pour something out. So that's also a meaning to the word God. So yeah, just look into these words and just have a look and see what they actually mean, and have a think about, where these words come from. And yeah, if we're to look, because again, the word God is very similar to goat, got or goat, because you'll find it, or gat, for example. Gat is very similar, or gate, got, gat, because remember the vowels are interchangeable. The A-E-I-O-U's are all interchangeable as well, when it comes to words. So yeah, so that also forms the word to play, which is Gothic, or the old Gothic German language as well. And again, the goat worship, or if you to look up goat worship, that used to happen, a few thousand years ago, before Christianity and the pagan religions. The goat was revered and worshipped. If you look up Pan, have you heard of Pan, the god Pan?
Pan. Well, the Pan I know is Peter Pan.
Well, you know what, Peter Pan,
Pan.
the word Pan, it does relate to Peter Pan, and he's related because he flies. He's like a this young god, right? Who's got all these special abilities, godly abilities. Never grows old, right? Eternal youth. So yeah, you've got these pagan references as well to the word God. And Pan was a goat. He was the horned one, so he's I think he was in I'm trying to remember, like I think he was from Irish cultures, if I remember correctly. And from from the Greek religion, and mythology, Pan, because he was Romanized later, but he's the god of the wild, the god of nature, the shepherds and the flocks. He's also the god of music, rustic music, and impromptus. He was also the companion of nymphs, and yeah. So just looking up those these kind of Dryadic cultures. Pan was also in Greek mythology, born in Arcadia to Hermes and a dryad. He had goat's feet and horned head, and delighted the gods, but startled the mortals. The nymphs weren't too happy with his looks either, and as much as Pan loved them, they almost never loved him back. So yeah, it's quite an interesting look into. I've got one called a book called The Dictionary of Myths, Mythical Gods, and I recommend that book as well. It's quite an interesting book. But yeah,
what we'll do is we'll stick those down and underneath the podcast for people so they can take a look at those. Cool. So we'll do that, Ahmed. Yeah.
So there you have it. The word God. It has connections to these various, put the pouring and to the word goat as well. Got and goat and gut and gat. And it's funny, we also use the word got when you got something or you forgot something.
Yeah.
So yeah, even the word get as well, very similar words. But yeah, some interesting words we use. What other ones are everybody knows about government, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that word.
Yeah.
It means mind control, essentially.
Yeah. Mind control. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember
the...
Mark Passio sharing about that. That's how I first came across that, because he's quite good with taking Latin words, isn't he? And yeah, breaking it down for people.
Yeah. So another one we use a lot is council. Councils is what govern our areas where we live, but you also have counsel as somebody who's in a courtroom. And so when we look up the word council, and we look up the meaning, it comes from concilium, which is a meeting or gathering of people. But when you look up the Pi root of it, which is Kallio, which comes from Kele, is to shout. So the tendency is to confuse it to its informal meaning with council has been consistent since the 16th century, because you have the word counsel, which is SEL, as opposed to council, which is IL.
Okay.
But within it you have something that counts. So with our word count, COUN, right? You have the same thing in council, COUN, minus the T, obviously. And yeah, so yeah, it's to shout. Really, that's the root meaning, is to shout. And yeah, I'm looking at the noun as well. So it's from So again, it's this. They don't really have a positive sort of connotation to them every time you look them up. These words that we use every day, especially like school. School is another one. And it's from Middle English skull, or from Old English skull, which is institution for instruction. So you're there to be instructed. You're not there to be taught. You're there to be instructed, like a military regiment. In the military, you're there to be instructed, be told what to do. So that's the meaning of the word. That's Middle English, isn't it? We're not even going back to the roots now, but it's from the Greek word skole, which means spare time, leisure, rest, ease, and idleness. That in which leisure is employed, learned, discussion. So a holding back as well. It means a holding back, a keeping clear, or to hold.
Holding back. Yeah. That really that really resonates with me.
You and me both, Kelvin. You and me both. I mean, we all know, we've all been to school. We know what it does. It does certainly hold you back, that's for sure. But it's also an institution for instruction. That's, again, the word school is instruction, has the word instruction. Again, it's to do with this sort of relationship to mind control again. To be instructed or to hold back. What are you holding back? You're holding back the potential of a child, aren't you, through going to a school, so to speak, as a place that's meant to be for learning and growth and development and empowerment. So yeah, this is just some of the words. If you ever have the time, just look them up and see. I tell myself doing this sometimes, just looking up the words, like what does, like news, for example. So when you look up the news, it's a new thing, right, from the 14th century. But if you were to go even further back, you will find meanings such as, where is it? Here, just give me a moment. Okay. So yeah, again, it's a place of new things. It doesn't really have much much to it, really. So obviously the word new is the word new thing. So every day when you're watching the news, it's what's new. And I think that's what's so appealing about that word news. It's like it's because we always, we always want what's new. We always want what's the latest thing, right? Everybody wants what's the latest thing. So these words like news do cast spells. It does give you that sort of grabbing your attention sort of thing with that word. And yeah, what other words? Let's see. Trying to think of the other words we use in the public realm. Public again, public. Yeah. Yeah. So
funny, isn't it? How these sort of words have been ingrained into us, sort of, isn't it? Over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with hello. You have the word hello,
yeah.
and nobody really notices it. And you can look up sometimes the etymology, but some of it you've got to just actually look at the spelling, and that should tell you what that means. Just from the word hidden within that word. So and some people don't like to say the word hell, which comes from howl as well. Howl, yeah. Which is quite interesting.
That's quite interesting, actually, because do you remember the film Space Odyssey? Remember that film?
Yes.
And that computer was called HAL, wasn't it?
That's right.
Remember?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
you have Halifax as well. HAL. You got Halifax.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all these. Yeah. It's interesting that the robot was called HAL.
Yeah.
You got Halliburton, which is one of the most corrupt companies in the world. Like, every time they conquer they go to war in the Middle East or somewhere, Halliburton's first to be setting up shop in that country. So yeah, HAL and Space Odyssey, but yeah, HAL again, it's in old mythology, I think, that word HAL, if I remember correctly, because you have Valhalla, you have the HAL in Valhalla.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually Hel, sorry, it's called Hel, Hel.
Okay.
She's the queen of the realm of the dead. That was it. So yeah, the queen from the realm of the dead in Norse mythology was Hel, Hel, which was a goddess, or a giantess, or a goddess, who rules over the underworld. So yeah, next time you say hello, you might be opening up the doors to the underworld. So watch out, when you're saying these words. And yeah, I'm just looking at other words such as big. We use the word big a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
Which comes from Old English. What is it called? Missel, which is quite interesting. It's completely different. Sounds completely different. And it means, where is it? The adjective. It means, from Pi root. Yeah. Not much there, other than it means the sense of.
That's all. Okay.
Yeah. Or powerful and strong, with a sense of powerful, strong. but usually mostly in writings from Northern England and North Midlands. A word of obscure origin. Again, why is it obscure? Again, all these words seem to be having obscure origins. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Even the word Satan, when you look up the word Satan, because you have Saturn, that sounds like Satan.
Yeah.
And when you're sat somewhere, we will have that sat, that first. It means adversary, or one who plots against another. That's what Satan actually means. It just means adversary. And again, it's a name which we know already that through religious connotations are already given to evil. But it comes from Greek satanas and from Hebrew satan, which means adversary, and from root esten, a one who opposes, obstructs, or acts as an adversary. Doesn't sound very evil to me, but again, it's part of these words that we use every day. And I found God more interesting, is likened to a goat, but
what about
Satan is defined as something that opposes and obstructs.
I have one for you, Lucifer, because it means light, doesn't it? It means light. There you go.
Lucifer. I mean, Lucifer comes from. I have actually notes on Lucifer. Lucifer has various, because it's light. Ultimately, you're talking about light. When we talk about Lucifer, we talk about light.
Yeah.
It's the morning star.
Yeah.
It's even the word lux. The word lux and luce or lucis. It's brightness and light. So and the word fere or fer means to carry or bear. In Latin. So bear is to carry, or to bear children, for example. Venus in the evening sky was Hesperus, which was a famous, if I remember correctly, which means the evening star, which means evening or night. So yeah, again, Lucy in the sky with diamonds, in the sky with diamonds. Why the sky with diamonds? Because it's Lucifer. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. That's what Lucifer's referring. They're referring to Lucifer. Now, is Lucifer evil? No, not at all. Why should light be evil? Again, but then some people claim, well, it's the false light. It's the light of the moon as opposed to the sun. So yeah, you can argue there's different meanings to these to what Lucifer can be, but Lucifer's certainly not evil in my view. It's just an emission of light. It's just the worship of light. If you're a Luciferian, you worship light. But the connotations that come with it nowadays, because people will give, say the ingredients in the needlecraft, for example, it would be the Lucifer, ace. I don't want to kind of like get you banned on this channel, but I just want to be careful with the words I use. Yeah, it's these words, Prometheus as well, because when we talk about Lucifer, we also talk about Prometheus, who gave the knowledge of fire to man, and was
Prometheus
punished for it.
Was Prometheus, that was a Greek god, wasn't it? Prometheus, is that right? Yes.
That's correct.
That's right.
Yeah. The Promethean was a name given in the 1830s to small glass tubes for sulfuric acid, surrounded by an inflammable mixture, which ignited and pressed and afforded a ready light. So, you always got this thing, and where have you got? They got the the match, strike a match to get light as well, and so yeah, Lucifer is all about light. You have the word Luke in Proto-Indo-European meaning light or brightness, Le. So that's why you had the word Luke. So when you hear somebody called Luke, they're actually called Lucifer.
And there was Luke, Luke Skywalker.
Oh, Luke Skywalker.
From
Well,
Star
thank
Wars.
you very much.
Yes.
There you go, Luke.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker. He was
Yeah.
Lucifer. Again,
Yeah.
Jesus is also Lucifer.
Yeah.
Allah in the Quran. That's Lucifer. We're talking about Lucifer here. So it's all connected. It's all connected, by the way. When we get into the word Lucy and Lucifer, Lucy as well. The word Lucy. If you hear the female name Lucy, we're talking about the same thing. Lucifer means light. Nothing evil, but it's what it's related to.
Yeah.
You have words in Armenian called Lois. So we have the word Lois. Lois is an English name, isn't it, as well? Lois.
Yeah, I think so.
Lois Lane.
Lois
in
Lane.
Superman.
Yeah.
Light.
Yeah.
It means light again. Lucin, which means moon, in Armenian. In Greek, you have lukos, bright, shining, white. Latin, lucere, which means to shine. Or lux, which means light. Lucidus, which means clear. The Old Church Slavonic, Lucy, light again. That's where we get the name Lucy from. Lithuanian, Lucas, pale, which means pale. That's why you got leukemia. Your leukemia. You got leukemia because you're pale. Your skin goes pale. So you got Welsh, lug, which means to gleam or glimmer, and Old Irish loche, lightning, lucaire or lucaire, brightness. Again, it's all related to that word Lucifer and light. So they all tie in. So there you go. That's Lucifer for you.
Wow. I've got one for you actually. Money.
Go on,
Money.
tell me. Do you know much about it?
Well, I know from what Mark Passio spoke about it.
Okay.
He talks about money, but he said the real monai is monai, as in the eye. Monai. Mon
means singular.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we get monotone, monograph, monochrome. Mono means one. Mon means one. And mon eye. Interesting. Yeah, money is the eye of one. The one eye. So yeah, we're talking about the one eye. The one eye when you talk about money. It's interesting because it's like money's always in the brain, right?
It's like that's the real money. Money,
that's
because
the real money for sure.
Yeah.
The real money. I like that.
Yeah.
Very nicely done. Yeah. But yeah, if we looked into the etymology of it, let's see the etymology behind it. Again, Latin moneta, place for coining money, mint, coined money. So yeah, it doesn't really say monere. Oh, it comes from monere, which is to advise, warn, or admonish. So there you go. That's the origin. Money it comes from monere, in Latin, which is to advise, warn, or admonish. Which is interesting.
That is, yeah.
And by tradition, with the sense of admonishing goddess, which is sensible, but the etymology is difficult, as they say here. The etymology of it is difficult. Well, go figure. Thank you for all the difficulties behind the origin of words. And you were meant to be an etymological dictionary. But
Mm,
Yeah, interesting. Man, again, that's
mm,
the way you look at it. I guess it's the way you look at the word.
mm,
You know,
mm,
man, you're
mm.
correct. You're right. Man is sometimes you might have to break down the word.
Yeah.
You know,
Which, because Santos does that quite a lot, doesn't he, as well? In his presentations,
yeah,
I've noticed how he takes words and yeah, it's just amazing to watch
yeah,
when he does that with words. Yeah.
yeah. Because
Mm,
sometimes when you look up into
yeah.
etymology,
Mm,
you can't find the root meaning of the words, and they
mm,
become obscure. And then, like as you find out tonight, I mean, looking at some of these ones here, there's
mm,
no uh, there's no, some of them have very obscure origins.
mm,
And when we talk about moon, we talk about month as well.
mm,
Mon mon again, which is one, right? So
mm,
month, that makes sense. Moon, month.
mm,
um and you have, what else? Money, month, moon. I say moon because
mm,
moon has the same meaning for me anyway.
mm,
Mon and moon, because when you hear Monday, I think about Moon Day because the
mm,
sun comes before the moon.
mm,
That's why Sunday, then it comes to Monday.
mm.
It's funny how it ends with the sun and begins with the moon, or ends with
Yeah.
the moon and begins with the sun. Depends how you look at it.
Look at it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, mm,
Um, Another one we use is week. You know,
mm,
how was your week? Now, even just listening to the word, forget about the origins of the word. You're talking about weakness.
mm.
You know,
Yeah.
so did you have and I think I got this from Big J. I think if you hear me, Big J, thank you for this one. But yeah, he likes to say, don't say weekend, because you don't want to have a weekend. You want to have a strong end. So call it a strong end. Don't call it a weekend. You're not weak. So again, like, how was your week? Oh, looking forward to the weekend. And
Mm,
yeah, these words again, it's fascinating
mm,
how they can be
mm.
casting spells on you. So yeah, next time you use the word weak, have a think about that. Uh, I mean, again, you can look up on the etymology what they mean.
Mm,
And here it will mean from Pi root, Old English Pi root, wake. Weak again sounds like wake in a
mm,
funeral, but it means to bend or to wind. The vowel sound seems to have been uncertain in Old and Middle English.
mm,
Again, so there's many variations.
mm,
And the thing is with languages have changed so much over
mm,
the last, and if we take into account the resets that we've had,
mm,
who knows if language has not been resetted to a certain degree and recreated with every reset,
mm.
you know?
That's
So
possible for sure. Yeah, that's possible.
so
Mm,
that's something nobody really has talked about is
mm,
is is
mm.
does language also get reset to a certain degree?
Yeah. I
Do
mean,
we
that is
use
very,
words?
yeah, very, very
Yeah,
possible, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mm, mm,
So anyway, next time you use the word weak, think about it. Do you want to
mm.
be weak or do you want to be strong? So that's one of the ones
Mm.
to think about.
Even the word awake, isn't it? Awake. Because you hear the
Yeah,
word being awakened, even. That's another one, isn't it? Awake.
yeah.
Being
Awake.
awake. Mm.
Yep. Yeah, you have a wake in a funeral,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
uh, I mean, you can look up the etymology, and they will tell you, oh, it means to revive or to arise or to originate.
Mm.
Um, and what else do you have? Yeah, I'm just reading it up here. To be strong, to be lively, from where the word weg,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But again, like, what do we use it for? In what context um are we
Mm.
using it from?
Mm.
You know,
Mm. Mm.
it's to be roused from sleep as an adjective, but what does it come from?
Mm.
Again, it's how we use the language. It comes purely back to that. And
yeah.
it's there's so many words to go into. We can be here all day going through verbs and nouns of words and their origins. But
it's just nice to touch on a few words here tonight, though. It's been lovely to do that. But there's something else I'd like to get your sort of inner standing of, is how words internally affect us by the way that we speak with ourselves. Because like you're saying, speaking these words out as well, how they affect us. Because I saw I think it's like a little a little video. It's not a documentary, a video, and it showed how certain words, how it affects the body, because we have water in our body and stuff. So surely,
the vibration,
the vibrations of these words and everything. Yeah. So could you maybe sort of elaborate on that a little bit more for us, Amed?
Well, there's not. I mean, how much I can elaborate with where others have already elaborated for me, I guess. But yeah, I mean, thoughts are different to words when they're spoken.
Okay.
Thoughts are just forms that are that come in, and I think when you speak them, you give them shape.
Okay.
So thoughts, though, when they're internalized, though, can be dangerous, because we can fall into, because I truly see that from my experience, the more I tap into the observer within me, and the only way that you can let go of these thoughts that you identify with is to stop identifying with your self-image. So the way I see it is, if my ego has a certain self-image, and that image is based on how others perceive me and how I want others to perceive me, as this character called Amed, he looks like this and walks like this and talks like this and he's got this story, and I'm building on that image, then you're actually not being a true self, a true soul in that sense, because this is what the collective operate on. Their identity, if you were to strip them off, they're nothing. There would be nothing there. There would be no substance. And that's what they fear, because most people cannot really face themselves, because they haven't found the substance of themselves, which is through their soul. Now, I think suffering allows you to shape and give you substance and depth, because through suffering and through coming out the other end, you are formed. It's like, it's like putting molten steel into the furnace, and over time you keep striking that hammer. That hammer's painful, it's hot, but eventually you'll turn into this beautiful, it doesn't have to be a sword, but it can be anything that's made of, and it's indestructible, right? Practically, it's quite a strong thing.
Yeah.
So I think watch your thoughts, because the thoughts, when I say yours, they're not really yours. And those thoughts do, and the words you use within those thoughts. Sometimes the thoughts is a conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
It's a self-dialogue.
Or it could be a trigger or it could be a trigger to make you start talking in a certain manner to yourself as well.
Yes. Yeah. You might get an image or a memory of an experience that will trigger a thought about that experience, and then it will come into the present of where you are, and it may fill you with regret or negative, some sort of negative connotation.
Yeah.
Let's just say the default in our world is negative. I mean, look around you. Most of the collective are negative. Their attitudes are negative. They're untrusting. Everything leans today in this era towards the negative. So of course, the thought forms that go out from everybody, because we're receiver antennas. Our informed field, you know, it reaches out within our own personal space to a certain, you know, I can't really tell you how much distance. It depends on how powerful you are.
Yeah. But
But
it's like that thing, isn't it? When there's somebody walks into a room, you know, and they might be acting in a certain way, you know, you know, sort of in a not in a very nice way, for instance, you know, and you start to then pick up the energy of that, and you hear that saying, don't you, about how they how just the energy just changes in that room, you know,
yeah,
and you just feel it. You just So yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely. I
Mm,
mean, you feel the energy of somebody
mm, mm,
who is around you there, and you don't feel the good vibes. And you know, the thing is it's to learn to live with the silence within,
mm,
because that feeling of when you get rid of your self-image and go into that emptiness. This is the thing. People think that emptiness is empty, but it's not. There's no such
mm,
thing as emptiness. It's
mm,
full. It's full, but people are afraid to go into that fullness because they think it's empty, because it feels empty, because they feel empty when they strip their identity and they're I'm not saying your
mm,
ego. I think your ego is important. You know, who you are
mm,
is important. What I'm trying to say is that that place, that still point, that center point of you that goes beyond all this talk and the drama and the identity of what you identify yourself. Because you know what? Every day is a new shaping of who you are.
mm,
Every day is an unraveling of who you are. You know, you're never the same. You can within 5 minutes right now change who you are. Within 5 minutes, you can decide to be somebody else. We can wear anything we want to wear, you know, but to come from the heart, to come from the center, we talk about heart of the matter, right? Let's get to the heart of the matter of this, right? In
yeah.
terms of our internal dialogue and who we are
Mm, mm,
as you know, divine sparks of the immortal souls, right?
mm, mm,
Well, if you want to see it that way, some others say that, you know, we're children of God. But again, whatever you like your religious or spiritual outlooks are,
mm,
your consciousness means something. And when you strip away your story and everything you are, and just sit and just be not still. I'm not talking about stillness and all this sort of stuff.
mm,
I do that through my martial arts. I can be moving and dancing and find that still point within. Does that
mm,
make sense?
mm,
Because
mm,
your thoughts are no longer there. Your thoughts are no longer present. You slow down the thought
mm,
process, and
mm.
then you're just in the mode of feeling, as opposed, it's a modal thing, right? It's
Yeah, yeah.
switching modes.
Switching modes, yeah.
It's like a, you know, there's a mode switch on in your body or in your within your brain, because
Yeah.
we're always stuck up here, right? Because we think we're up here all the time. But when you sink into your body and you think, because the heart feels, it doesn't think. The heart doesn't think. It
Mm,
it it it, it feels and senses.
mm,
It doesn't think where the mind, the brain thinks. And I'm not saying that thinking is bad, because thinking is good. I think thinking is great. I'm grateful to think.
mm,
I'm super grateful to think.
mm.
You know, in fact, if you're not super grateful to think, there's something wrong with you. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
because but most people don't even think about
yeah,
how great it is to just think.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? The Kabbalion, you know, we in the Kabbalion it talks about the mental, you know, about the all being mental. You know, some
Yep.
people can't grasp. I mean, I can grasp that. You know, what that's about, and it's like, well, aren't we an image of that then? Aren't we an image of the all? In a sort of that's the understanding that I've got from it. You know, because if it's
Yeah.
if there's that mental part to the all, there's a sort of a correlation there within us as well. Yeah, that's what I
Yep.
sort of got from it. I mean, I still need to read that book over a few more times, obviously, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean, again, when you say mind, there's a difference between mind and brain.
mm, hmm,
So most are stuck in the brain. Let's just talk about the collective, for example.
yeah,
The
yeah,
collective brain, average brainwashed individual is in their brains all the time. They're in their brains. They're not accessing mind. Mind is accessing the all, is accessing what people call God. Again, it's and I don't like to use the word God all the time because you know it has connotations to it. It has things that latch onto it and predefinitions based on other people's religious views. So when I say that word, we are talking about the all, source code. If we speak in technological terms, imagine you have access to the source code. Now, when we talk about the religious priesthoods and you know the priesthoods who stop you from saying, well, only through us can you find God and get to the divine. So we'll tell you how to get there, but you can't have a direct connection. You're not allowed. All right. We'll tell you how to do it. You don't even have the ability. Forget you're not allowed. You don't even have the ability to get there. So we will do all the interceding, you know, for you, and we will act as the middleman in between you and God. When in fact we can tap into that within ourselves every day, and it just involves getting rid of that image of yourself. Because that's not you. You are not your avatar or your body. This is a temporary thing. You know? Otherwise, why does it have a time limit? Why does this body have a time limit?
We're so much more. We're so much more than what we what we see ourselves, aren't we?
Exactly. And if your identity and your whole world is based on how you look, then you got to look up narcissistic traits and address those issues, because it's not always all about looks. Yes, of course, if it comes to attracting another partner, and yes, there are physical things that we are attracted to, you know, features and stuff in other people. I get that. I mean, we are operating in a body, right? And it needs to be aroused and attracted. But that's not all there is. The more I think the more you get into your heart and that connection, you can see past the physicality. But obviously with that comes standards, right? You know, because as you develop your spirit, or you develop that power within you, that gnosis. I'm not talking about Gnosticism here.
No.
I'm not a Gnostic. I know I was part of the Gnostic takeover once upon a time and all that. I'm no longer part of that. I don't believe in that. I'm not a Gnostic, and I never will be a Gnostic. But in terms of gnosis, that's something else. To know thyself.
Yeah, because gnosis as well is it also knowledge, isn't it? Is that another thing for gnosis? Self-knowledge as well, isn't it? Yes, that's it.
And there is a Islamic scholar as well, or not Islamic. I'm trying to remember his name. Al-Khawarizmi, I think his name was Al-Khawarizmi. I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, Al-Wardi. I think it was called Al-Wardi, which means the flower. His name.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, and he was saying there's two types of knowledge. There's observable knowledge, and there's intuitive knowledge. Now, observable knowledge is everything that can be found out externally from you, that's already been found out. Intuitive knowledge is something that comes from within you. That's something that you can tap into through yourself, through your soul. But you have to slow down your process of thinking in order to access that. You have to get out of the way of yourself.
Of yourself.
Your story about you, because again, when you think, a lot of thoughts are what's the word? Self-absorbed, right? You're absorbed in your own world and your relationships and everything else. And that is the realm of your thoughts and your world, based on your reality that you're living in your body suit, right? That's housing your soul. So everything's about that. But if you actually stop that for a minute, get rid of that, not rid of it, but put it on pause, put it away, and just access the source of who you are. The source of who you are is not, I'm not going to be Amed Hashimi forever, because the immortal soul has lived many lives before this. I've been many different personas and personalities and expressions, of the human expression. That's not what the soul is more than just Amed, who's sitting here right in front of you doing a podcast. If that makes sense. And it takes a level of humility to and it's not about, oh, I don't like Amed, I'm going to get rid of him. It's not about, I like who I am. I love who I am. I've got no issues with this persona and the ego that I have. That's not the issue here. And in fact, I know that I've reached a point where I'm humble enough that my ego is strong enough to take constructive criticism and to always be open for growth. That takes a strong ego. Someone who gets offended easily or is insecure, that's not a strong ego, that's a weak ego, in my opinion. But anyway, let's just put the ego thing aside for now. Just getting rid of your ego, not getting rid of it, but moving it aside so that the divine within you can come through. That is where the power lies, and then the other thoughts of inspiration come through, creativity can come through. All the great artists are able to access that because they're accessing, they're using their experiences, but they're tapping into something much more powerful, which is love. Ultimately, it's love. God is love. It's this unconditional love that comes from the heart. That's so powerful. And you feel it when you get rid of your self-image, and you allow that presence of the all to come through the mental. When you're in the mind of God. You're in the mind that you are the God man. Then that's what it means. Not to say that you are God yourself, because remember, you're finite in this vessel. So be humble. I don't think you're all of a sudden God.
It's just like just a fragment, just a little fragment, a little piece
spark of it, but you can access all of it through your own consciousness, through your own body, through sitting with yourself, through your own consciousness, you can access that part. And that's how, basically, it takes practice. It's not something that happens overnight.
No.
And that for me is the most powerful vibration of frequency. We talk about words, and words are there to communicate. That's what I think they're there for. They're just there to communicate. I think once upon a time, I personally, this is just again, it's a belief, it's not a gnosis, but it's a belief that I feel very strongly about. That once upon a time, our ancients used to not communicate through language. I think we used to all be able to read each other's minds. We used to have telepathy. I think that's
that's how I feel as well. I feel exactly the same.
Same thing. Why were the druids so obsessed with the trees? I mean, look at the trees. The trees have a whole mycelium underneath. You go to a forest, they're all communicating with each other. Our body, our nervous system is shaped like trees. Our lungs, everything you look at is shaped like trees. If you look at the wiring of our network, we are like a tree. So this is a piece of technology. I think somewhere along the line, it got tampered with or genetically modified to a certain degree, that we became some sort of slave race or something. When you look into the old Akkadian Sumerian tablets and read the story of Enki and Enlil and how that they were a slave race, but I think we've reached a point now where I guess the gods mixed with us so much that now their blood is already within us. They've already broken the genetic manipulation. It's just that we have to do some of the work to claim back this technology, because thoughts plague us and haunt us every day. Negative ones for sure, especially when we've had a very hard life and there's been a lot of trauma and difficulty in our lives. Compassion becomes very hard to feel, to feel for yourself again, and there's sort of self-loathing that happens because when the rage, so to speak, spreads thin, that's what depression is. You're depressed because your rage has been spread thin. It's been sort of completely dissipated. You haven't had the opportunity to express that rage. Sometimes you have to, because anger is better than hopelessness. Anger is much better than hopelessness. Rage is much better than hopelessness. And because you're that hopelessness is death in itself. And that's why you look at people with mental health problems. They're like dead. They're like the walking dead. They don't exercise, they don't move, they don't leave their house. They're always in bed. They're always in bed. They're always sleeping. They're up into the late hours of the night every day, but they're always sleeping. They don't see anybody. We know, right? The compulsions of someone with severe depression.
Oh, I've had to. So, as you know, I speak about that. I won't go into my finest of details, but yeah, I've had many years of depression, and stuff like the dark night.
I've had it too.
The dark night of the soul, as I call it.
Yeah.
But I sort of now, and I still have my times, but it's how I cope with it. That's it. I was just like, here it is again. I sort of like play with it almost, rather than it really
it's also
pull me down.
Yeah. It's also like why do we have two different words such as love and care? I've always wondered why we have two different words. Aren't they the same thing? And I thought, actually, they're not the same thing. Because love is something that you can have with somebody else. But care is something that you can do for yourself. And it's a form of love. Again, it's a form of love, but love comes in different shapes and sizes. So you've got to know like the difference of because the external love is easy. Everybody can relate to that. We hear it in the love songs and the romantic movies. We see it in romantic novels, all that. Okay, we get it. We get love, all right? But love for self, it's a form of care, actually. It's a form of self-empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
To be able to look at yourself from a third person, for someone outside looking in.
Yeah.
And we've all had difficult lives, and I think to be human is to suffer, but that suffering doesn't have to last forever. You don't have to always live in suffering. And that's where the lie is, you're in your karma and all this sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, well, if you feel bad and guilty and you haven't dealt with the shame and the guilt, of course you're going to feel in your karma. So I don't believe in karma personally. I don't. There's things in the Eastern philosophies that I don't really subscribe to personally, and that's why I think there's been this sort of obsession by the West, this romanticism they have towards Buddhist teachings and Vedic Indian teachings. I think there's a lot of value there, but I don't think everything in those systems is good for you. I think there's a lot of Western things that are beautiful, and if you look at the Western mysticism, for example, and the work of Hegel and the work of Kierkegaard and the work of William Blake, for example, as a poet, and some of these great Western thinkers and philosophers who you think actually there's a lot of amazing things that you can draw from, spiritual, that has value. And I'm sure they draw from something deeply ancestral as well, from because you look at the Western world, spiritually, it's one of the most destroyed cultures, spiritually speaking. And Friedrich Nietzsche wasn't lying when he said God is dead. What he meant, he didn't say that because when you say the statement God is dead, it doesn't mean he says he doesn't believe in God or doesn't see there is God. But he said God is dead. He declared it, as part of his philosophy in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And that's for a reason, because he started seeing this decline of spiritual values. And Christianity didn't satiate the Western peoples. It's been there for many years, but it didn't satiate the spiritual depth that they were looking for. And that's because we've lost that direct connection with the divine within us. And I know we're going off from words, and we talked about words.
No, I think it's been an absolutely amazing conversation, and
yeah.
it's just flowed lovely to tonight. And
this is what I love about our conversations, is that we can flow into these.
It just flows into other things. It's a lovely thing. Yeah. And there was another thing I wanted to add on, as we sort of start thinking about bringing this podcast to a close, was the will. For me, it's about the will. The will. When I have my days, my days that are not so, good as other days, it's having that will, to just that driving force within me. It keeps me going, regardless of how I might be feeling within. I still have this will and determination to keep going.
Well, that will comes from something deeply, profoundly divine. It's the will to meaning, and what we call in German philosophy the will to meaning. Without will, there is no meaning. Again, so when you kill your will, you kill anything that's divine in you at all, like that can create a good life and a meaningful life.
Yeah.
So I think definitely thank you for mentioning the will, because the will is the heart. So I always think about the heart when I think of the will, because it comes from a place of love. It's funny if we look even into not sure of whether you've heard of or watched the Green Lantern, which is
is that like is that a DC? Is that a DC?
DC superhero.
Yeah, comic.
He's got
superhero.
Got the Omega sign as his kind of symbol, but it was green, and the Omega, the Alpha is here, the Omega is in the heart. Again, we have the dualities. It's about uniting the two, but one can't be without the other. So there's things that rely on the conductivity of our life force energy. May the force be with you, as Luke Skywalker says, or as Lucifer says. Now we know the meaning of Luke Skywalker. But again, this is the thing. All these great spiritual figures that have existed throughout our past, such as Jesus, again, it's the same thing. It's the same figure each time, even when you watch movies or superheroes. But the will comes from the heart, and the will is so powerful that it creates meaning, and it leads you to your source code, to the reason why you're here. I think that the will is everything, one of the most important things. It's one of the most important things for sure.
And it feels like it's an inner force it's like an inner force that's beyond me. If that makes inner sense to you.
Yes, that makes a lot of inner sense. Definitely. Well said, Kelvin. Definitely one of the most important things is the will, and it is beyond. Again, I feel it comes from the immortal soul within. It comes from the divine source, the all. I think that's where the will comes from. Where do you think our life force comes from? Our body regenerates every day. We have energy. You know, we're told it's food. We're told it's water that feeds it. But really, like, there's days where you feel you're so zapped because you're depressed. But there's other days when you're feeling amazing and great, and you know, there is this nourishment and feeling of connection with everything, especially when we're in love, right? Especially when we're in love, you know, with somebody, and we're in a relationship. You know, that it feels like the whole world is looking amazing. You're fully energized. You know, you wake up first thing, you can't wait to look at children. You know, especially if they were about to do something exciting the next day. Yeah, if you remember as a kid, if you know, I was first up. I was so excited about the next day. I would just be like awake. I didn't even wait for the alarm clock to wake me up. I'll be, should I say wake? I should rise. So it should be, I'll be rising. Again, see how deep programming goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I'll be rising every day. And just looking forward to this adventure or school trip that I'll be going to, you know, for a new experience.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
these things tell you about yourself. I think, you know, your strong emotional reactions, it teaches you about yourself. And I think that's the thing. It's like to keep that will and to keep that strong emotional reaction. And as Jason Breshears talks about, you know, the informed field, you know, your informed field. What are you informing? Because to inform is to be information. That's what information is. What information are you taking? What formation are you forming in you? What form do you want to be every day? What are you informing yourself with? And that is to do with your thoughts, going back to thoughts again. So watch your thoughts, observe them every day. And if you see yourself slipping into negative thought forms, investigate why. If it keeps coming back, if you're like, no, I don't want to think about it, and you kind of cancel it out. If it keeps coming back, then it's there for you to integrate and so delve deep into it. Sit with it. Sit with it. Feel it. Okay, I was like, okay, right, you're not going away. This thought is not going away. It's haunting me. It's literally, it's plaguing you, it's haunting you, and it's not going away. Then that's your opportunity to sit down and address it and see and delve, go deep into it. Why is there conflict? Why is there conflict in me? You know, for us is to end the conflict. Nobody wants to be in conflict, because conflict is a form of violence to yourself.
Yeah, and again, you know, it's the trusting the instincts within as well, isn't it? You know, it's
intuition.
Intuition.
Yeah,
but I, you know, sort of, I sort of use the word instincts as well. I mean, that's just another expression of how I sort of put it across as well. But yeah, intuition. I think it's a nicer word. Yeah, it's being guided by that, you know, and yeah, it's just one of those things, you know, for me, you know, today, it's not been the best of days for me, but I still have a smile on my face, you know, and we've had a great chat, you know, a wonderful, beautiful chat, and it's been so lovely because it's been a meaningful chat, you know, and I hope that the you know the people that are, you know, are watching this, you know, will take something from this conversation, you know, and for me, you know, it's like I can't do the small talk anymore. I just can't go there with small talk anymore. It's like I have to have these like really meaningful conversations now. Why is this? That's just where I'm at.
Well, it's what nourishes
It nourishes my
who you
soul.
are. Yeah, it nourishes the soul. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like you. I can't do small talk. I really can't. There's something so fake about it and unreal, you know.
Absolutely.
And you know, for me, it's about, and I like how Nietzsche also says, you know, I hate people who take away my solitude if they do not offer me genuine and authentic company, you know. And that's how I am like as well with people. If I'm not getting true connection with somebody, you know, true presence, being there, talking about something meaningful, as opposed to, you know, what you know, what you did down the pub the other day with Nick, you know, whatever, you know. Um, people like to talk about people.
Mm.
And cool, that's cool if there's something meaningful, there's an idea or a philosophy or
Yeah.
something deep and profound that can come out of it. But I don't like talking about people if it's just talking about people. I don't really
Mm.
um if there's something to be learned from there, then yes, let's talk about
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
person.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
if there's nothing, if you're just saying something just to get something out, just to feel better about yourself because you're insecure,
Mm.
and you're talking about, gossip, basically gossip. I can't
Mm.
do gossip.
Mm.
It's I find it repulsive.
Mm.
And I can't be around people like that myself.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, meaningful talk is nourishing, and
Mm.
it's
Mm.
important to nourish our souls with these sort of talks,
Yeah,
Kelvin. So
yeah,
yeah,
for
thank you.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just wanted to say as well, it's the other thing before we sort of bring this podcast to a close is as well. So another thing that I'm seeing is still, what I am seeing is still that people are still stuck in the loops, about, you know, what's like the latest thing happening here and what's the latest thing happening there, and and it's just people. It's just I just see it just still all around me. It's like, and I just feel like I've moved on. It's like
Yeah.
I'm somewhere else up the road.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
All news is old news. There's nothing new about the news
Mm.
and about what's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, it's the word. It tells you think it's new, but it's not. There's nothing new. There's
Mm.
nothing new under the sun.
Mm.
What's if you're looking for something new, is your renewal. We're
Exactly.
coming up to spring. We're
Yeah.
coming up to spring, and when I think about the changing of the seasons, especially in the springtime,
Mm.
I'm thinking about my rebirth,
Mm.
because I've been through a
Yeah.
winter, and winters are very difficult to go through because we don't get much sun. Most people, it's cold weather. It's
Mm.
miserable most of the time and gray.
Yeah.
Uh, all the leaves are gone. All that sort of stuff in nature. Everything looks dead. But it's actually what you do in the winter in preparation for your rebirth in the summer. And I look at my new year is spring. When
Mm.
spring comes, I say Happy New Year. So I'm looking forward to the new year this year.
Same as. Yeah.
uh,
Mm.
and and things to think about. How do you want to? Because every day, every moment is an opportunity to be reborn,
Mm.
and to break the loops. Like you
Mm.
said, we're in loops all the time,
Mm.
and we do fall trap. I mean, I'm as guilty as the next man to fall
Mm.
into certain loops
Mm.
myself,
Mm.
and breaking pattern, as Jason likes to call it, break pattern. It's really important. Break pattern. I think,
Mm.
if you don't do something different in your day, you're not doing something correct, because
Mm.
yes, it's nice to have the ritualistic people. Like, yeah, I think exercise is important, but you don't have to do the same type of exercises every day, and you
Mm.
don't have to do it at the same time every day.
Mm.
Break pattern. Try not to
Mm.
do the same thing. You don't have to go to the same place and exercise every day either.
Mm.
So
Mm.
break pattern, shift things around. If you
Mm.
feel stuck in your life and you're going into a negative loop, change the pattern, because
Mm.
what you're doing, you can't change the way you are with the same consciousness that created it, right? So
Mm.
you've got to be able to break those patterns and change the pace of what you're doing every day. Or when you rise up every morning, rise up every dawning, should I say, every
Mm.
dawning. Oh, it's so difficult to
I
use
know.
these words, isn't it? So
Mm.
so when you rise up when you get up in the rising, you're what is your attitude? What are you doing? Are you looking at your phone first thing as you get up? What about not looking at your phone when you get up? What about you get up and you say aloha world or something, just to start with a positive smile into your face,
Mm.
and see those that first hour, and just keep it positive, and see what
Mm.
happens for the rest of the day, just
Ah,
that first
yeah.
hour, and see if that carries you through something. and
Mm.
and
Mm.
like, if you're in the mirror brushing your teeth, smile at yourself. Give yourself a smile. Hey, handsome, how you doing? Or just to feel good about, because we
Yeah.
are given these avatars, and I'm not talking about vanity or narcissism here. I'm just talking about just feeling good and accepting our bodies. There's a lot of body shaming as well in the West, and I think that's actually it's in the world over, especially if you go look at the Islamic cultures. There's a lot of body shaming on women because women have to be covered up. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'm just saying, like, I go on tangents as well now. I'm inheriting some of Jason's traits. This is what happens when you're informed field. It comes with another informed field.
So it's lovely. It's just lovely. It's just been I've just really enjoyed the conversation, Amed, and thank you for giving, out to the channel and to the viewers, thank you. Just thank you for your sharing here tonight. It's been beautiful. And stuff, and I'm looking forward to your part 2 with Jason as well. So, and I'm sure you'll have more this time to share. So
yes, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Kelvin.
I mean, we could go on and on. So I think it is about time that we sort of brought this podcast to a close. We're going to, I'm sure that we'll sort of meet up maybe next month again to sort of carry on the conversation in some other direction. As we always do.
For sure. We'll have more of a presentation and structure next time to the next one.
Yeah, for sure. And so the only thing I just wanted to just quickly mention before we sort of close the podcast down is you're going to be joining us on the 25th of February for the Connection Festival.
That's correct.
To do a presentation there for us and stuff. So which would be absolutely lovely. I think it's psychology and psychosomatic. Is that right? Psychosomatic.
Yeah, psychology, mind control, and the psychosomatic.
Yeah. So that's going to be absolutely wonderful. And thank you again for the contribution there, Amed. And and as we say, it'd be just lovely if people would come and join us for the day, because it's not about us, it's about Connection Festival, and the people that come, they make Connection Festival. It's about that, really. We're just there to just facilitate
community and
exactly.
For sure. It's
sure.
about community, and now more than ever, truthers are always stuck behind their keyboards. So get off your your desk and your laptop and come out and meet us. So it would be great to see you.
Be beautiful. And have a wonderful day again. The last one was amazing. We had a beautiful time, and looking forward to this one as well. So thank you again for for coming and for supporting and for sharing. Thank you, brother. Yeah. So any final words before we bring the podcast to a close?
Smile, and I said this quote today as well before I think I commented. There was a comment somewhere. And I left a quote from Marcus Aurelius. Do not be swayed. It goes somewhere along these words. Don't quote me on this, but become unswayed by external forces and live wholeheartedly your life. So yeah, that's the final words I've got from Marcus Aurelius.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution. Much love to you. Look forward to catching up with you sometime next month. Bye now.
I know the time will come when we welcome everyone. Yeah. Even the young and the old. We're here to soothe your soul.